Good morning. Welcome to episode 46 of the
Something.
Blindsided podcast. Today we're talking about reacting and we're talking about responding in a way that both are good and one could be a little bad. We're going to unpack that a little, use some stories, examples, and really come to a place of questioning where we can pause and we can then move into that next thing, that next situation, that next conversation, email, text message with a well thought out response. Charlie Collins here with the Blindsided podcast. I'm also a co-founder of the Thriving Blind Academy, a speaker and a coach. And with me today and every week.
Hi, Charlie. My name is Brenda. I am also a co-host of the Blindsided podcast. Really happy to be here today to talk about this topic, reacting. I am the founder of Time for a 10. We're an emotional awareness, emotional intelligence coaching service. And we have a thriving YouTube channel. Please go visit it at timefora10.com. And we help people challenge their conditioned thinking and their 0 to 7 childhood programming. If you don't know this, your subconscious brain was programmed from the ages of 0 to 7, and we help people unlearn that programming. Happy to be here. Good morning, Carrie.
Ah, you're good. You're right on top
I'm
of
right
that.
on top of it today.
Well, this is always a conversational based podcast. It's not scripted. We don't have certain lines and time limits and things like that. We just flow. We definitely discuss this topic. So our topics each week, and we just bounce where we want to go and how we want to unpack this, move people through some awareness, including ourselves. I learn every week on these podcasts because I am open, thankfully, still. I am a teacher, but I also remain a student. And I believe that has a lot to play. I mean, a lot to do with how moving from reacting and responding, because I just that space, Brenda, where we're gonna really go into is all things, not things, conversations, people, time, space, locations. That's a stimulus, right? And let me just say, we all think, and then from thinking we choose, and from choosing we behave. After we behave, it creates an experience in our life. And that experience produces emotion in us. And that emotion triggers our very next thought. And this cycle is and this happens like really fast. So, but when you slow it down, you find that I'm doing this text in a way that I don't want to be right. I don't want to teach a lesson. I'm not reacting. I'm responding with, hopefully this serves both of us.
What a great intro, Charlie. I want to say good morning to Trish. Glad you're here. Our loyal followers are popping in one at a time. You know what you just reminded me of, Charlie? This is beautiful. So I was taught through the 12 steps that I can't trust my own thinking. Right? And you started, when you were explaining this reacting and where it starts from, you said, I think it starts with the thinking, is what you said. And then, and that's what happens when we're using our brain to interpret information that's coming in. There's another place you can go to interpret information that's coming in. And this is where the Buddha goes, because this was the story I was about to tell. I went and I did some research on this because the Buddha trusts his own thinking. And I'm like, how can the Buddha trust his own thinking? Because he doesn't start here in the head. He starts here in the heart. He feels first. And then that produces a thought. He doesn't think, right? And the thought produces an action. He doesn't think and produce an action. He feels first. He goes into his heart. He doesn't go into his memories, his 0 to 7 programming, his past experiences. He starts here from his heart. What is this energy telling me? not what am I thinking about this energy. You see the difference? So that's
Oh, yeah.
that you just described it that way. Yeah, because what we're supposed to do, Charlie, is we're supposed to feel it in the 41,000 neurons. There's 41,000 neurons in your heart. 41,000. It has its own brain. We're supposed to feel the energy coming in and then send it to the brain to be processed, interpreted, and for an action to be created. We don't do that here. You're exactly right. We think first because we're in a state of fear most of the time.
Mm.
We'll talk about that as we move forward.
And that, I mean, you got to think Buddha might be doing this like 24/7, and you know, he doesn't go into an office building where other humans are. So, excuse me. We're also going to talk about, I mean, you know, to unpack some questions that,
Mhm.
because I know that, you know, I reacted a lot. I was a reactor, you know, a reactor. I reacted, defending, blaming. I reacted like I needed to respond that way, even though it wasn't a response, it was a reaction to protect myself, to defend why I did what I did, to make an excuse, to, you know, and I didn't know. And really, okay, everything is cause and condition, right? So, what was the cause? The condition is I reacted, I'm feeling angry, I'm da da da. So, but go, like you said, we need to go further. Okay, so nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. And I started looking, where was this coming from? I was afraid. Afraid of what? You know, self-reliance had failed me. But really, because I was pulling from the past and everything. So I was triggered a lot. And, you know, I started asking some new questions after going through and taking an honest look at self, not you, not all outside of me. And I started, you know, was I kind and loving toward all? Absolutely not. Was
Right.
I kind and loving towards me?
Mhm.
No. No, I was mean to myself throughout the day because I don't do it right and people piss me off. And then I got to, and then, you know, that stuff piles up. And then what could I have done better? That one really. And do I forgive myself for not being perfect, for making some mistakes? I know God does. So why wouldn't I? So, Brenda, when I ask, what could I have done better? Not in you're a bad boy or anything. I just get the, oh, when this person, I could have just let it be. Active listening. I could have just let it be. I didn't need to have it talk to some unresolved struggle in me. They triggered me, and then I said something, you know.
Right. Right. And it doesn't go anywhere. That kind of circumstance does not get any better if we continue to stay engaged. We did the podcast last week on how not to engage, you know, and how powerful it is to just let somebody have whatever thoughts, beliefs, feelings that they're having without feeling the need to change them because we're worried about what they're thinking about us. You know, the bottom line is, and this is from my own experience with people, is the people that want to think ill of you, that want you to be the nemesis, that, you know, the people that want to put you in that box are going to put you in that box regardless of what you do, what you say, or how you behave. That's their stuff, right? I think, you know, one of the coaches on our team, Sue Pepper, she says, you know, what's my stuff, what's your stuff, and what's God's stuff. Right. And everybody comes into a circumstance or a relationship, whether it be, you know, a working relationship or a personal relationship, with their own stuff, you know. And if somebody's in a frightened state, all they're thinking of is finding that safety, getting back to that baseline of safety, however they need to get back there. Right. So they're in their fight or flight center and they are just hammering whatever they need to say or do to get back to that. I'm in control. I'm safe. Everything is going to work out just fine. You can't really deal with somebody when they're in that state. So it's better just to let them, like you were saying, just let them have their moment, whatever it is. You don't need to be right. You don't need to defend. when we're in a circumstance and we're disagreeing with the way somebody's thinking or their belief system or what they're even saying about you, you can just allow them to have those feelings and say, I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't have to personalize it. Just because they're saying it doesn't make it true. It makes it true for them. It doesn't make it true for me. But I don't need to rub that in their face, especially if they're in an activated state and they can't possibly hear that. It's falling on deaf ears. So it's best just to allow the circumstance to unfold without engaging. When we react, nothing good happens. And I mean, I'm sure you've been in a situation, like an activated situation, either with a friend or maybe a sponsee or maybe your spouse or even your kids, right? Where you're just doing this dance. You're going in circles. They can't hear anything you're saying. We were talking about my daughter, right? Last week. And that won't work. That won't work. That won't work. Right? When they're in that state, it's absolutely true. They can't take anything in and process it here when they're in that reactive state.
Yeah.
So Trish says, your comment on being a reactor, Charlie, made me think of a nuclear reactor and what happens during a nuclear atomic fission. Kate says, good morning. Hi, Kate. And Molly says, good morning. Love that, Brenda. Love you, Molly. I don't know what I said that you love, but thanks. So,
well, we can go back and watch the recording. So, Brenda, but reacting is good sometimes. Yes. We need to have that. If you walk to the edge of a tall building, your body's going to react and pull it back. Yes. If you're standing on a curb and an Uber comes flying up, because when I was traveling, if I stood, cars just and my body would react by backing me up. If I was walking around the other night, coming around the back of the house, came in, it was dark, and as I was rounding, I heard in the woods. Well, I'm not going to stop, pause. And then, let me think, how should I respond to this? Hell no, I ran to the door. So reacting is so good at certain times, Mm-hmm. If you feel you're in an area or some threat or something, yeah. And like, I don't think about what to do. That's when I'm activated. That's when our nervous system, this fight could mean I need to, I fought everything in my head. I don't mean punching fight. But for me, that was a flight thing. I wasn't fighting that. I don't know what it was. It could have been nothing. It doesn't matter. I didn't need to get a flashlight, investigate it, see if it's okay. I needed to focus on me getting in the house. And then I went, and then I came in and I had, from walking the dog, I had two things stuck to my leg and I'm like, I freaked out. I thought it was like animals. So, I entertained myself from some of my reactions. Mm-hmm. And those don't cause me suffering. Those are the ones our Creator put in us for a reason. Brenda, I was moving the salt and it slipped out of my hand and my other hand reacted, went underneath and caught it. And I'm like, sweet.
Ninja.
I couldn't have planned that. And you're driving. Did you ever have to react behind the wheel? Mm-hmm. Like, the cars are slamming their brakes. Let me pause and literally think of the best way to press the pedal. Hell no. You hit that thing because that is survival. That is you staying safe. Right. And that's great. But what happened? Why did it start to spike? That part of me started to activate a lot more throughout the day. How is it that we give our power away? That's what I'm doing. I'm not surrendering. I'm just giving my power away to the people, the places, the things. My gosh, I could talk about a few things that make me start getting a little cuckoo. And they don't. It's my thinking. And Brenda, I just want to get down to, are you willing to take a look at this? Are you willing to do the work? Because just knowing it is not the solution. Self-knowledge does not fix it. What does? Well, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah. Excuse me. And there are a whole bunch of tools you can use. You're talking about the work, right? Can we start talking about the work now, Charlie? Because sometimes I think people hear the work and they're like, oh, more work, right? It's really just a practice. All of the things that we talk about on our podcast are little small steps, little small practices that you can do throughout the day to realign your thinking. Because you do something for 28 days, Charlie, it becomes a habit. So you start to, practicing a couple of these tools, and you practice it every day. You put a sticky note up. That's what I do when I'm learning a new tool. I put a sticky note up somewhere like on the refrigerator, where I know I'm going to go to that refrigerator a number of times during the day, so I'm going to be reminded. It's that simple. I put a sticky note up. Remember to think with your heart. Remember to ask your heart what's going on. So when I was trying to learn that tool, and I would see that sticky note, if I was activated in any way, right? If something was bothering me, if I was ruminating about something, if I was judging, blaming, complaining, all of those lower frequency, thoughts that we have, if I was in a lower frequency thought and I saw that sticky note, which I would at least once or twice a day, right? I would ask myself, what does my heart say about that? Just ask the question. That's the work. I would ask my heart the question. What do you think about that? And it's a completely different answer than what's coming from up here. Completely different. And I stuck with that practice. It wasn't hard to do, to stick with that practice. And then I started naturally asking my heart the question, what's really going on here? What am I feeling? And when you ask yourself what you're feeling, it's amazing the answers that you get. 99.9% of the time, I was feeling something from the past. I was associating a past experience with a present moment circumstance, and I was re-feeling what happened in the past, not what was happening in the present moment. So Trish says, reacting to danger, that type of reacting is evolutionary and automatic.
Correct.
Problem, it's sometimes activated in us for other things. Absolutely 100% spot on. So back to you, Charlie.
Well, yeah.
Past 99.9% of the time, what I was feeling in the present moment up here was from the past. And when I asked my heart what was going on, what am I really feeling? It would show me what I was feeling in the past, that I was bringing that past emotion into the present circumstance when the two circumstances aren't related. Even though it may feel slightly similar, the present circumstance is completely different because it's happening now.
So I got into boating years ago, and I started on a sailboat. Then I moved to a motorboat, and then I moved to a bigger boat. And it's the opposite of houses. Houses, you start big and you scale down. Boats, you start scale up because there's never enough. But anyway, but I don't, know how to. I'm sure everyone's been to a marina or you've seen a picture of one, and they're small, and these boats are big, and you're in water, and they don't have four wheels, and they move around a lot. So I thought, my God, I need help, because how am I going to pull this in and then put it in this tiny little spot around all these very expensive boats? And between my dad and another friend, Joe, they explained it. There's two things that can happen. You can respond to the boat, to the situation, to the stimulus, and you can, or you can react. And if you react and allow the elements around you to take over, you're probably going to make a big mistake. Mm-hmm. Whether that's hitting another boat, hitting the rocks, hitting the dock, and looking like an idiot. And that was my biggest fear. and I said, okay, well, how do you do this? Well, Brenda, and this is life, right? Mm-hmm. Was I willing to learn? Yes. Was I open? Did I think I knew what to do? And it's not me. It's the water. Water should not be currenting that way today. That's why I screwed up. No. I was taught. My dad said, you got to know the tides coming in and out. You got to look at the telltales. The little things on the sailboats and which way they're blowing tells you which way the wind's going. Okay. So you need to think about that, because that means the wind and water is going to move the boat. Even because when you come in, you got to really reduce the power. So now you're at the mercy of some quick thinking, moving the motors, shifting the boat, pulling it. I mean, it's freaking stressful. And I watched once I docked, I almost like just let go of everything and said, ah, yeah, that was my reaction. Just let it crash. I'll deal with it. And, but I didn't. But almost every time I remember, because I was willing to do the work. You know how many times I pulled in and out to practice? And I finally, the guy, Joe, my friend, was like, all right, let's do it again. I'm like, no, I don't want to go against my luck. I might screw up the next time. He said that's why we're going to keep doing it until you are confident and you know how to respond to the feel, to the wind, to the water, to the people on the dock that are watching you. And you go ahead and watch other people. I watch people come in, smack other boats, like get scared and come flying in and hit the dock. And oh my gosh. So I think that goes along with, if I hadn't been coached and mentored in the way of my dad and Joe. I mean, I used to say, watch my dad do it. And I'm like, he would just, you have a 33-foot boat, a 12-foot beam that has to fit in an 11-foot spot. It's not really the truth, but it feels that way.
Right.
And you have these two big, and you are just shifting the boat, Brenda. And then you're moving the wheel a little, and then you're tapping. And all of a sudden, the boat's just perfectly moving in. And it's like, how did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is life. Am I willing to take a look at, I'm responding to the boat not doing what I wanted to do because I didn't take the time to learn all the metrics, all the stimuluses that can affect how I put the boat in a safe space. And I learned how to do it. And I coached the people on the boat that this is how I need you to perform and be, so I can do this well. And don't ask me questions when I'm up there or I'll choke you later. You know, you got to be focused. And that lesson applies to, I take what could I have done better? What could I do better? Not could I have done, because I can't change the past. How can I learn this in a way that serves me and it doesn't activate me, doesn't get me angry, doesn't get me thinking I'm not good enough, I'll never know how to do this. I don't want to activate that part of me.
Right, right. And all those things you're talking about, Charlie, that cause you to react, right? All those, the reaction comes from one thing, and it's fear, that evil and corroding thread. Fear that you're going to hit another boat, fear that you're not going to get it right, fear that people are going to think you're an idiot, fear, 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 fear. And the difference between you and your dad is your dad wasn't afraid. Your dad wasn't afraid. He flowed with the boat. He also knew how to do it, right? He practiced, like you were talking about. He put in the work, he did the practice, and he knew that he knew how to do it. And he was confident in that in the moment. He wasn't thinking about the guys on the dock watching. He wasn't thinking about the boat next to him. He was thinking about his boat and pulling it into the slip. Fear was not in his awareness. No. And when we start to address and remove fear, we've talked about it 1,000 times, false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. It's when we're bringing a past experience of our own self-worth, which is, I'm not good enough. People don't like me. I'm going to screw this up. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve to be able to park my boat successfully, right? All that old programming comes in, right? And we get activated. I don't know if I can do this. Of course you can do it. So I'm an IT director, right? And when I took this job that I'm in now, the person who was there for 20 years before me, 20 years he was there, left me a half a page of notes. A half a page of notes on an entire company's IT infrastructure, so hardware, software, the ERP systems, a half a page of notes. And I sat at that desk the first week, frozen. I didn't know where to begin. Right? So I went home, I meditated, I prayed. I asked God for help. I asked the universe for help, God, source, universe. And in those moments of prayer, I realized I had every tool I needed to be able to navigate whatever it is that this company is doing already in my toolbox. All I had to do was reach in and grab one. And if that one didn't work, I can reach in and grab another one. So when I went back to the office, the first week I was completely frozen in fear. And the second week, I said, I have to leave the fear at the door. And how do you eat an elephant? We don't eat elephants. It's just an old analogy. It's one bite at a time. When you have a big, big problem, you just take the small pieces of the problem one at a time. And that's how I started. And the first thing I did for that company is every single thing I learned, I put in a knowledge base so that whoever comes in after me won't be in the position I was when I got there. Now there's a big knowledge base on all these things I had to self-teach. I had to, self-teach. All the things that I learned as a result of that effort is now in a knowledge base for anybody who needs to know in case I get hit by a bus or whatever. They have one IT person that does everything. one person, no backups. But do you see what I mean? Like, had I stayed in that fear, I would not have been able to be productive in that position, right? We've got AI that's helpful. We've got YouTube videos on just about anything you need to learn. I learned how to put memory in a computer by watching a YouTube video. Like, all the resources are out there for me to learn what I needed to learn. I had to believe in myself that I could learn it and execute it. And there's no reason to believe that I couldn't, because here I am as an IT director at a company, right? And then act on that belief system of worthiness, self-esteem, and being able to do stuff. So Tricia is still talking about your boating. Hang on a second.
Oh, boy.
So parking a boat, like getting into a slip, that's probably one of the most difficult things and nerve-wracking things about boating, getting it back into the slip. I love this analogy, Charlie. And Tricia's saying, wow, you're right about dad and boating or flying. He could be so zen. And she said she did hit a guy's boat trying to get hers back into a slip. His reaction was awesome, though. He told me not to worry about it and then helped me get my boat back into the slip. That's really nice, Trish. I have not met a lot of people like that at the marina. When I had a boat, my ex-husband was hitting other people's boats, which he did regularly. Back to you, Charlie.
Well, I became to enjoy pulling the boat in and out of this slip because it was an art. And even coming out, the wind could be, you come out and it could push you towards the other row of boats. So you got to boom, 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 and get it in line and pick a line, right? You pick a line and you feel it. If the waves and the water got tough out there, you needed to chop the waves a certain way, not hit, it's life. It's like, and you had waypoints, little mini goals that you wanted to get to in the boat to get to your final destination to help keep you on track. And a boat is a big compass, and you could be going, oh, looks like I'm going straight. Oh, I'm way off track, so you've got to be awake. And that's how life is. It's like, why am I out here gardening when I said I was going to wash the car, type of thing. And when I get that lost or off course, I start reacting. I start getting angry. And it seems like I'm angry at you, but I'm mad at me for not staying true to my intention, I guess, is really where I'm going. Now, Brenda, you said computers, and computers have hard drives. I know you said how to install memory. And I don't know how many people know. I wish we could install a little in us.
It's coming, Charlie. It's right around the corner.
And RAM is basically, it's random access memory. It helps move things around a computer, and you can beef it up so it moves it quicker. And an uncluttered mind, where we're unconsciously competent, and that mind is like a very well-tuned running computer system. The processor, the RAM, the connection within the heart and all, the system is unbelievable. And it doesn't go to reactor mode throughout the day. It goes to processing mode. It allows the processor to move it to the right area of the body to help make that decision. At least that's what I'm starting to discover as I continue to do work. And Brenda, we all have hard drives in our computer. Now, coaching helps you get to those hidden files.
Yeah.
Coaching helps ask questions like, oh, there's where the virus is coming from. Oh, that's why I keep blaming you for pissing me off when it's something that I haven't been able to right click, delete, get out of my recycle bin. I don't want you coming back. Is it that easy? No, but that's what coaching, that's what the world of do I want to get well? I don't mean everything area of your life, but I ask guys and people I work with, do you want to get well? Are you willing to go to the lengths necessary to move from where you are to where I know you could be?
Yeah.
And yes, but what? There is no but after a yes, unless you are canceling the yes. Yes, but you don't understand. I'm legally blind. I only have a high school diploma. I don't know how to do all this stuff. I don't have the time. I have a job. I got to get a car. I got to get back in the house. And it's like, yes, what shall I do next? Ding, ding, ding.
Mhm.
That's the one. That's where I am with many things, but I definitely put the block up the wall and I don't want to learn that. I want to react. I want to be angry. I'm not ready to surrender to learn how to move through this. So thank you for doing the computer thing, because my hard drive is so different than it was in 2006.
Mine
My
too.
hard drive, our computers, we can have a factory reset. I wouldn't be so bad if we had that reset button. Let me come back to just imagine life lived, Brenda,
Yeah.
by design, but
Yeah.
with zero fear, and I mean unhealthy fear, zero baggage from the past. We just start our day with a blank canvas, thinking about how we can help and serve and do and make this a better place. That's
Absolutely, Charlie. What people don't recognize is that anytime you experience a trauma from the time that you're young, and all kids have trauma. I don't care if you say you had the most incredible childhood of all children have trauma because you don't have a frontal lobe as a kid. You can't process information in a rational, logical way many times. So if your mother, shoos you out of the kitchen because she's busy, a child's going to feel rejected. They don't have the equipment isn't built yet for them to say, oh, mommy's busy. That's why she's shooing me out of the room. The child feels on a very instinctive level, rejected, abandoned, whatever it is. That's a trauma wound, and it happens. Now, God forbid you're in a family that's very dysfunctional like mine. The trauma is severe, right? And trauma is nothing but, I love how Dr. Mitchell Saskin at Columbia described it like this. He said, it's temporary separation from spirit. So when you have a traumatic experience, you're temporarily separated from the essence of what you are, which is spirit, because we're spirit, mind, and body. Spirit, mind, and body, not body, mind, and spirit. Spirit, mind, and body. So you're temporarily separated from that. That energy gets stuck in your system. Now, anytime something happens that even remotely resembles the feeling you had back then, triggers that stored energy in your system, and those feelings come up as if it's happening today. So you're bringing old stuff into an event that's going on today. So in order to clear, the work is to clear that energy out of your system. It's to go back and look at it as an adult, comfort the inner child through that experience, allow the feelings to rise for expression and release, and then it's gone. And this is the work that really works. And we learned how to do this by doing turnarounds. I do turnarounds with clients all the time where we look at an experience, we look at the feeling that's coming up, we identify where in the past that feeling happened the first time. Is that really what you're feeling now? Most of the time, the answer is yes. We grieve that emotion that happened way back when. We grieve that trauma that happened way back then. It gets released out of the body. And now it's no longer being triggered. So you can respond instead of react when a similar feeling comes up. That's the whole kit and caboodle of the work. And this kind of work really does change your thinking. Somebody asked me not too long ago, because I had a horrific childhood. And I'll never forget the first time this happened. It's too long of a story to tell now, but I share it with my clients. They were asking me about some of the things that happened in my childhood. And Charlie, I couldn't remember because that trauma has been released. I couldn't remember. I'm like, I really had to dig deep to recite a couple of examples of the horrific abuse I endured because I have cleared that energy from my system. And it's an effort now to go back and remember it because it's just not in my awareness. How beautiful is that? And I'm talking every kind of abuse you could think of, intimate, physical, emotional abuse as a child. And it started early, before the age of 7. I can't remember it now. I have to, it's an effort to go back and pull those stories up to share with people. Beautiful.
You made me think about, if your mom shoos you out of the kitchen or something, like, well,
Yeah.
but I was thinking it was so traumatic growing up. I would come home from school and there would be a pile of clothes on the kitchen table. Now, the whole kitchen table, there were 6 kids, had each pile. And my pile, my mother would say, don't forget to take your clothes upstairs. As I was 3 steps heading to go upstairs, and I go, I got to turn around and grab it, because then I knew then the clothes would sit up in my room until, don't forget to put them in your drawers. Oh my gosh, why can't you do all that for me? I'm not kidding. But it's so funny that I remember, like, I never thought, oh, Mom, you allow me to throw my clothes somewhere, then you wash them all, you fold them all, you keep the house. I mean, no, now you're like bothering me because you're making me do something. It's crazy. And I reacted. I would make a noise. That's a reaction. I didn't respond, Mom. I'd love to. I am so blessed to have you. Thank you for, whoops. Sorry, Mom. I didn't think of that back then, those days. And you said that fear, that evil and corroding thread, and the part that really keeps us in the fabric of our existence. So it's shot through the fabric of our existence. So think of a piece of fabric. It comes up, it runs the show, it goes back under, and then I pull it back up and I go back under. So it's like that's what I think of when I think of the fabric of our existence was shot through, because fear shows and goes away, comes back and forth. And kind of like when you're sewing or knitting, right? You're bringing that up and you're putting it under. And when it's under, it's never gone. It's whatever is happening throughout my day. Poop, time to come back up. And Brenda, in our thing, we get divorced from, I asked this creator, this power greater than me, something that is done something in my life, because stuff has changed. People have changed, but they didn't. It was my perception.
Yes.
Places have changed, but they didn't. It was my perception.
Yes.
Time has changed, but it hasn't. It's only slowed down and gotten better. All these things I thought, I'm like, but it was really, I saw the world as I was, not as it was, because reality is whatever I make of it. And as my personality shifted and changed, my personal reality came with it that way.
Charlie, Carrie is saying that she mastered going in circles when Dad would let me try and drive the little green motorboat.
Yeah.
Dad was so particular about it. I tried to follow his directions, but I was still doing circles. That's a great memory. I love hearing about all these memories. Trish is bringing up The Body Keeps the Score as it relates to the stored energy in your body. That's a great one. I love that book. I have it. And all kids have trauma. I didn't know that, Brenda. It's very helpful for me to know. I'm glad. And all kids do have trauma. And Carrie is saying that your dad never overreacted. It's a great example of responding with love and patience. Yeah, as parents, our parents, my parents were not that way, but that's a whole nother story. But I'm that way with my kids. I don't overreact when they make mistakes, because making a mistake is 100% natural. It's how human beings learn. If you asked me today how I became successful at X, Y, or Z, I would really have to stop and think about it, right? I really would. I'd have to stop and think about, what did I do to be successful? If you ask me how I failed, I can recall that in an instant and share it with you. We tend to personalize our mistakes when making a mistake is how we learn. See, I remember them because I learned from them. That's why I can list them off quickly. Making mistakes is so natural. And I think people don't realize that if you're making a mistake, woohoo, you're going to learn something really great. Same thing with pain.
But if you continue to make the same one, you keep losing your sunglasses, you keep losing this,
Yes.
Then that's insanity.
That's insanity. Yes.
And then you're going to be a walking around reactor, and you're going to burst.
Yep.
You're going to have a nervous breakdown, a stroke or something eventually. If you're not, life is not meant to be that way. Life is challenging. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like a computer, if you're not running scanning software and keeping things clean, it's eventually going to crap out. And that's what happens to us. We're going to get overloaded. And that's, I don't mean to be negative, but I almost crapped out. It's either life's going to do it or my mind is going to think that's the best option, because I cannot understand how to tolerate and work with all this stuff. Now, Brenda, what's our code?
What's our code, Charlie? There's so many codes that we talk about.
Come on.
To thine own self be true. Give it to God. What's our code?
Love and tolerance of others is our code.
Love and tolerance of others is our code.
And I know there's many. That's a principle. But love and tolerance of ourself is another code.
Yeah. Really important.
I was always taught, I got to worry about everyone and, I got to accept them and all that. But do you accept me? Do I accept me? No. So how am I ever going to accept you? If I can't love and tolerate the fact that I screw up, I react sometimes, I make mistakes, I say things I wish I didn't, nothing like it used to be. But if I can't love and tolerate the fact that my humanness is going to screw up and you want me to do it for you, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
And, am I kind and loving? Why am I kind to myself? Do I nurture? Do I think about my thoughts? Am I, why didn't I put that something away? Because I was rushing to the next thing. What could I have done better? I could have stepped back. I could have then put the item away and thought it through. Next time I come to this, it's going to be where I need it to be. So I'm not going to have to look for it. When I can't find something, if Molly's still listening, she probably has a smile. Watch out. Because I'm mad at myself, but I'm going to take it out on you a little bit if you're in the area. Like, I can't find my stupid phone again. I hate the thing. They make it black and everything, and it's on a dark counter. I can't see it. It's my blindness. That is why I can't find my phone, and I'm a loser. Holy crap, that stuff just triggers Brenda. So I say, well, maybe if you put your phone in the same spot, is it a pain in the ass? Yeah. But if you create a system like a killer ERP system, then it's going to give you the results that help you become more of a responsive, grateful, calm, peaceful person.
Yeah. Yeah. Small changes, big results. And you can't give what you're talking about. You can't give what you don't have. Everything starts with you. You have to be kind, loving, tolerant, patient with yourself before you're going to be able to do that with other people. How you treat yourself is how you're going to treat other people.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah. So I'm going to read this last comment because this is, I recommend this book, and Trish is reading it again. I read it and I did a paper on it, and I read it again and I read it again and I read it again. It's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And it is an incredible book about a man's experience in the concentration camps in Auschwitz. And, I just got chills all over. And this human being found peace and joy within himself in this horrific circumstance. And he has something to teach us all. So Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, if you can get your hands on it, it's a life-changing book. And there are very few books out there that are life-changing, and this is one of them. So I'm really glad that you're reading that. She said your comments about insanity made her think of that. So this has been a great podcast, Charlie.
It certainly has. And yeah, I read Man's Search for Meaning years ago.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, wait a minute. I have the power to choose my attitude?
Yeah.
And I'm getting pissed off that I can't find my sunglasses and the whole world is collapsing around me. And this guy, I mean, it's like, whoa, that is possible. You say it all the time. No one. Those guards, the devastation, the murdering, the watching of his family get, I mean, nothing could make him crumble. As close as he wanted to, he kept saying, and then he went on to do amazing work
amazing things.
So amazing that was there was a couple of few books back in the early days that were just like blew my mind, and my mind needed some blowing.
Yeah, it's a life-changing book. It really is. You read that book, you'll stop complaining. Whenever I think I have it rough, I pick it up. Like, really?
Yeah, you will. Yeah. And then you'll fall back unless you don't do a daily practice or you don't work towards and you don't have a common, you're not aiming in a direction to improve your quality of your life, your thinking, your behaviors, your relationships. If you're not doing that, nope, you'll forget about that book and you'll start becoming a nuclear reactor.
Yeah. And one last thing, Charlie, I think what people forget is, why are there 8 billion people on the planet? And it's not, from overpopulation or people having, it's because we're supposed to be helping each other.
Yes.
We're supposed to be doing this together, not by ourselves. A conditioned mind can't fix a conditioned mind. Find your community, find your coach. Use that community. I have a beautiful community of people that I could reach out to 24/7 that help me get through my tough days. I do not do anything by myself. I don't. There's no reason to. We're connected for a reason. So find your community and use it.
And subscribe, like, share, do all the wonderful things, please. And also, Brenda and I are working on a webinar, and we will announce it. But it's going to be an in-depth webinar training / it'll have handouts, which could be on your computer screen. But we're excited. We're working on our first webinar series. Well, it won't be a series. It'll be a training to dive in deeper to what we do here, because the how is going to be revealed. So thank you all for coming, and keep an eye out. Well, we'll let you know when we're going to announce the date on the webinar, and you have a wonderful, blessed week.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Love you guys.